For Bitcoin right now, our price targets are around 150 to 180,000 US dollars. For altcoins, we believe most of the good altcoins should 2 to 3x from here. Hyperliquid's been, up 150%. It's been a great trade for us. 98% of people round trip or don't sell because what is possible in crypto and what is actually reality. And I think half of our job sometimes when working with our clients is kind of like reshaping the beliefs and understanding of like what is actually possible. Because where I see most people go wrong in crypto is believing that something could happen, i.e. expectations of crazy returns or hoping things are going to happen really quickly, and then the market doesn't go that way. There's volatility, altcoins don't perform as well, and then people start to panic and they make bad decisions. And kind of our job and the way I think about it is to kind of share all of my experience as much as I can with you guys so you don't make the same mistakes that most people do. And the sheer reality of this bull market is it's playing out very differently to previous bull markets. You can't have the same strategy, all right? And if you're thinking the same way, it's not the same. So moving forward on investment decisions that are not correct or that are invalidated or that are wrong, and not holding on to altcoins and not holding on to beliefs that have been right in the past. I always say that hope is not a strategy. And if I look back at, the decisions I've made where I've had to cut losing investments, like I did at the start of the year, like I cut, a lot of all my gaming projects, my RWAs, and my meme positions at a loss. I look back at that decision when I sold those now, and those projects were down 20% back in February. They're now down close to 65, 70, 80%. So that strategy of just holding on and hoping they'll come back would have obliterated those positions even more. And what we did do at that time was rotate those altcoins into Hyperliquid. And Hyperliquid's been, up 150%. It's been a great trade for us. So kind of first thing I want to share with you guys is, this cycle is different. You can no longer have the same strategies you had last cycle. If you've been in crypto for a little while, it's very different. The reason it's different is primarily we're not seeing this market driven by retail spot market interest. It is heavily driven by institutional investment now. And I think I'll share a couple of charts in a second for you guys to see, but the altcoin market is very different, and 99% of the altcoin market is not performing to the same level it has in previous cycles. So this chart here, just as an example to show you guys what this looks like. So if we go back to, let's go just the start of 2025. So this is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's a better chart. Actually, let's go to others. So let's go others. So this is since the start of the year, the total crypto market cap excluding the top 10. So essentially think about altcoins that are not in the top 10, all right? This is the market cap. So you can think on average, the altcoin return of altcoins outside of the top 10 this year is down 41%. Right? That's on average the market cap, return for this year. If you then overlay Bitcoin as an example and look at what Bitcoin has done this year, the same scale, all right, Bitcoin's up 10%. That's a 47% swing on holding Bitcoin versus, the average. There is outliers, don't get me wrong, of these, this market cap here. But the point being is when thinking about investing into altcoins, the way we think about it, and this is, I'll hand over to Matt to sort of talk about our, the way our altcoin research works, is that we want to be looking at altcoins that are beating Bitcoin. If your altcoins aren't beating Bitcoin, then it's worth considering and rethinking that investment itself. Like we always think about wanting to outperform Bitcoin, all right? Because the risk you're taking in investing in altcoins is a lot higher than just holding Bitcoin. The reason I buy altcoins is to buy more Bitcoin. That's the goal, right? Long term, my strategy is how can I accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can to essentially grow my net wealth through Bitcoin, because that asset for me is an asset that I will use to lend against. I think one of the biggest trends we'll see continuously over the next 12 and 24 months is more and more people seeing that lending against your Bitcoin is kind of that next wave of wealth creation, where you, again, depending on which area you're located in, and we're not a financial advisor, I just have to kind of, remind you guys that to speak with your tax accountant on this, but you can, in most circumstances, lend against your Bitcoin without paying capital gains, all right? And you take debt against that Bitcoin. Now, obviously there's risks associated with that, but that is how the wealthy create more wealth. Money breeds money. With my business now that's, generating income, I can go and take a loan out from the bank with property that you guys own. You can lend against that property to buy more property without selling the property. That is what the wealthy do. That is now coming into Bitcoin. It's now already available with Bitcoin. And I believe that is going to be a big trend that we'll see more and more, as Bitcoin continues to compound at 20, 30, 40% per year, you can take debt out at 7% and you can cash flow that Bitcoin without selling it. All right. And that's where you can get the upside of Bitcoin while utilizing the cash. Again, make sure, you kind of diligence on that. We'll share a little bit more about in the group, but that's the trend I'm seeing. And for me, just Bitcoin is the best asset on the planet, in my opinion, and I want to accumulate more of it. 2 altcoins as an example that, I shared yesterday that I bought more of, 2 of probably my most bullish, altcoins right now. If we look at the performance of those in the top line here, I'll change this color so it's a bit easier to see. So if we look at in the red line, all right, red line, you got Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid's up 45% in the same time frame. Syrup is up 68%. So you're outperforming Bitcoin by 50, 60%. It's outperforming the others market cap by 70, 80, 100, 130% difference. Our research, and Matt will go into a little bit more detail in a second, continues to show us that the altcoins that outperform Bitcoin in the first half of a bull market tend to continue to outperform. Again, just really to make it super clear. Because a common misconception I see people make when they come into our platform is like, okay, cool, Ben, these projects have already gone up a lot. What else are you looking at? I've already missed the boat. What else should I buy? Our point in our research shows, continues to showcase us that it's not about what else should I buy? It's when do I accumulate more, or when do I start buying? All right. And that's a common misconception we see. And, right now in this cycle, I haven't added a lot of new altcoins to my portfolio. I continue to double down on the altcoin allocation and portfolio that I shared yesterday. Inside the platform, this is where I'll go into my sort of portfolio update that I did yesterday. But the thing that I want to stress to you guys is that, outside of risk to reward, the biggest thing when I think about investing is the 7-step strategy process that we talk about. You may have seen us talk about this online, or maybe, seen us talk about this in the group. I want you guys, after this session, is to go to the resources library here, click on this button here. It takes you to the 7-step guide. You can print this out. You can do it digitally. You can just literally write this down in a Google Doc or whatever you want to do. This 7-step strategy is ultimately really key for me personally. I utilize this to understand how to build my portfolio and how I can stick to a strategy. The reason I think this is so important is because this was the sole reason I was able to make life-changing amounts of money back in 2021 in the last bull market when my altcoins were doing 10, 20, 30x returns. 98% of people round trip or don't sell because emotion takes over. Crypto is the wild west of emotional warfare. All right. And what do I mean by that is the biggest enemy, the threat to you guys actually making money, if you haven't done already in terms of exiting, is honestly your own head. All right. And I don't say that in a woo-woo way. I mean that in the best way possible, in the fact that if you've been through a bull market before, which by the sounds of you guys may have, in a real bull market, like a peak of 2021, peak of 2027, peak of 2017, it is fucking crazy. All right. The euphoria is next level. You're looking at your portfolio making probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, a week. And that feeling is like sitting at the roulette table when you're not losing and you're drunk with your mates. It's like you don't want to leave the table. That's the reality of it. You leave once you start losing. All right. That is what happens, essentially gambling, right? It is the euphoria and emotion that will take over. And that's why a lot of people don't sell. So what's the counterbalance to that? What's a couple of things? One is understanding out of this 7-step strategy. I would say question number 2 here is probably the most important. What are you actually trying to do with your crypto? A lot of people I talk to, is I'll ask what's your goal in crypto? And they'll go, I just want to make as much money as possible. I'm like, well, no fucking shit, mate. We're all here to make as much money as possible. What are you actually trying to do? With that in mind, you can actually write down and understand what's the logical reason that you will sell your crypto to achieve your goal. As an example, for whether, you guys have, run your own business as an example, Levent, we probably got into business because we wanted more time back. Well, that's, obviously not reality when you get into a business, but the idea of doing that is, you want to, achieve certain things for your family. You want to, pay off the mortgage. You want to put your kids through private school. Whatever it is that you want to do, I would be trying to get as specific as possible with your crypto. All right. As an example, in 2021, my goal at the time was to sell enough of my crypto to build Collective Shift. All right. My company Collective Shift now, that's 5 years ago. I knew how much money I needed. All right. And I sold a lot of that to go and build Collective Shift. All right. The reason I sold my crypto during that peak of that mania was because I had that belief. I was like, I really want to do this for myself. I want to build my business. I need this money. I'm going to sell. But in the moment when I hit that sell button, it was the most sickening feeling I've ever felt, because I'm like, I'm going to streak here on roulette. Why would I leave the table? I'm never going to lose. That's what you feel in your head. All right. And you look back at those tokens now and, they're basically, down 99%, worthless. But that's what takes over. All right. Whether it be NFTs, ICOs, meme coins, there's always something that is to be excited about. My goal right now, like my first goal, I now have multiple goals. So like, I think about it like building checkpoints in a game. What are the checkpoints you can hit and achieve? So if you don't get it absolutely perfect, you're not going all the way back to zero and writing your portfolio down. You kind of ticked off some of those goals along the way. So, for me, my first goal this cycle was to buy my parents a house. I took profits on syrup, a few months ago to do that. All right. And was it the top of the cycle? No, but it was a reason for me to sell. I've now achieved that thing, and it allows me to move forward with confidence and clarity that I've actually done something with my crypto this cycle. All right. Meaning that if I don't get it perfect, I can look back and go, I actually did something with it, not I fucking round tripped and, didn't get anywhere. And like a common one really I see with, more sophisticated investors is diversification strategy. You've got property, you got a business. It's like, hey, I want to have a percentage of my portfolio in crypto, and maybe to, increase your risk tolerance to, get yourself ready for retirement. It could be like whatever it is. Just understanding why you're in crypto is important, because that then needs to match with your portfolio allocation. All right. That's the next part of this. This is where I see a lot of people go wrong, is that the next part of this is like, okay, what's my time horizon? Like how long do I need to do this? How long do I have? Maybe there's some sort of time horizon that you need to achieve certain result in. And I always say that the market, unfortunately, doesn't give a fuck about any of us here on this call, including myself. The market will do what the market does. And getting frustrated or angry or worried about the market is not going to change anything. All right. And this is something that I've been quite vocal in the group, over the last, couple of months when there's been a lot of volatility, is that volatility is normal in crypto, and it's something you've got to be prepared for. When I see clients make bad decisions is when they have these like artificial points in time that they need this money by. Oh, Ben, what's going to get me the best return within the next 3 months? Honestly, I don't know, because I've done this in the past. I made this mistake when I first got into crypto, like 2018, 2019. I was investing money that I didn't have, that I couldn't afford to lose. And then the market went down, and now you're really fucked, because now you've got money that you don't have in a market that is volatile. And now you're going to have to sell those assets that are down because you had this like artificial time horizon. I'm not saying don't have a time horizon in terms of when you want the money back, but it's just a thing that I see people get caught up in, is that, oh, I need this money back in 3 months. Okay. What happens if the market's down? What are you going to do then? It's not a linear path. It's not just, up only in crypto. The time horizon is important to kind of like understand, cool. Okay. Well, I've got 5 years to achieve this. That's great. That's awesome. I would just argue, like, if you have this, like, I need this money back in 3 months time, it may not go your way. And that's where I see people make, some poor decisions at that point, if that makes sense. Okay. So once you've got your goal, then it's like the portfolio structure, right? So all of you guys are allocated already in the market, right? No one is like got nothing in crypto. Everyone's allocated. One of the things I would say when like thinking about your portfolio construction is around, is my portfolio construction going to allow me to achieve the goal that I've set out? As an example, if your portfolio goal is to diversify from your property portfolio or your business, and you don't really have a lot of time in the market, well, then probably allocating a lot of allocation of your portfolio to high risk meme coins, as an example, is probably not the right thing to do, or probably not the smartest thing to do. I always think about like crypto does not live in its own world. Crypto needs, in my opinion, needs to fit as part of your broader investing strategy. What of your net wealth or net worth is currently in crypto? As an example, I sat down with a client at our last strategy day in Melbourne a few months ago, and he had, I think, 80% of his portfolio in XRP, all right, or 90%, all right? That's quite a lot. And he seemed like a pretty switched on guy. I was like, okay, that's cool. What percentage of your crypto portfolio is of your net worth? And he said 1%. I'm like, oh, okay, so 0.8% of your net worth is in XRP. Cool, no stress, not a problem. Like, you've taken high risk in crypto, but his goal was to take more risk because he was super wealthy, all right? On the flip side, if someone told me they had 80% of their portfolio in XRP and their net worth was 100% in crypto, different story. Now you're riding your entire fucking livelihood on one altcoin. That is same allocation, two completely separate scenarios. I think about what is my portfolio structure as part of my broader net worth. As an example right now, like I'm pretty much 100% allocated to crypto. I've got the property that I'm starting to move and diversify outside of. My business is in crypto. So a large percentage of my crypto portfolio is in Bitcoin, 67% as of yesterday. The reason I've got so much in Bitcoin is because I believe in it so much. I believe Bitcoin's going to, hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million in the future. And it's an asset I want to accumulate more of to lend against in the future, to buy property and essentially leverage to do different things with, right? If I had 100% altcoin allocation to my portfolio, then I would be riding a huge amount of volatility of my entire net worth. And that is just, extremely extremely risky. And it's not something that aligns with the goals that I'm trying to achieve. All right, my goals: 1, parents' property; 2 is to diversify outside of crypto; and 3 is to then accumulate more Bitcoin. Right, so my portfolio structure right now, based on, I just updated this yesterday if you didn't see this in the group, my portfolio structure is heavily weighted in Bitcoin, all right, and then heavily weighted in layer 1s, so Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and Hype. Layer 1s are just, layer 1 blockchains, and then Syrup is my DeFi play that I'm super bullish on. Very simple, very basic, because my goal is to accumulate more Bitcoin, sell down my altcoins at the peak of this cycle, and get ready for the next bear market. The bit of word of wisdom here I will share on this portfolio strategy section is simple wins. I see sometimes the best performing clients of ours, I say this in all these onboarding sessions, with no disrespect to this age group and demographic, but 50 to 70-year-old women in our group are the best at returning results in crypto, because there's no ego. Usually they don't really even know what they're doing, and they follow their plan, right? So they keep it simple. They don't chase trends. They're not trying to get a gold medal about chasing the next 10x, and they keep it simple. They accumulate and they sell. All right. There's one client in particular. They're an elderly couple, invest in their SMSF, just bought Bitcoin, had no idea about it, wanted to beef it up for their retirement, accumulated, held, were patient, didn't panic on the dips, didn't get euphoric on the big moves higher, executed the exit strategy. I think they went to Europe the other day and, have increased their portfolio by 150%, ready for a retirement, and they're selling down and living happy days. Like the most simple strategy. I always just remind, new clients, new guys, is that complex doesn't equal higher returns. More altcoins and the quantity of altcoins does not equal higher returns. Does that make sense? Like, you don't make more money by having 20 altcoins. You make more money by being in altcoins that outperform others. You can have one altcoin that outperforms everything and you're going to win. So that is important, because when it comes to your exit strategy and your sell strategy, like, the most important part of this is honestly keeping it simple. The more wallets you have, the more exchanges you have, the more altcoins you have, the more just everything, the harder it is to execute a sell strategy properly. So if you can, consolidating this, having it on one wallet, having it on one exchange, reducing the amount of altcoins will just drastically increase your chances of executing this the right way. Matt, anything you want to touch on? I'll come back to sell strategy in a second, but anything on portfolio strategy?
Just the idea of having Bitcoin in your portfolio. A lot of people just straight away, as many of you would know, that a lot of people just straight away jump to 100% altcoins because of what's happened in the past. When, just to reiterate what Ben said, like, the market is a lot different now and normal, I suppose, growing up and sophisticated. Yes, altcoins can do very well. We've seen that. We've been in some of them this bull market, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin still very much deserves a big chunk of your portfolio. For me, in full markets, Bitcoin personally is somewhere around like 30-40% of my portfolio in full markets. But in bear markets, I would be going into bear markets with 100% of my crypto portfolio in Bitcoin. That implies selling 100% of my altcoins as close to the sort of near the top of the full market as possible. Again, I don't want to be holding altcoins in the bear market. So we could share all that as time goes on and as we sort of execute our sell strategies as well.
Now, Matt, do you want to share just for the guys here in a couple of minutes, kind of just like how the shift list works, how the research process works for you guys? Like, how do we come up with the altcoins? And then how do these guys hear from you in terms of when we're adding new altcoins and, when to look?
Yeah, shift list is probably one of our most popular features on the platform. It's a curated list of cryptocurrencies that myself and the analyst team that I oversee, that we sort of monitor these cryptocurrencies and have an opinion on them. Importantly, a lot of people come to me asking, what altcoin's going to pop next week, or what are my thoughts on XRP in like 5 or 10 years time? Going to overtake the banking system, blah blah blah. Like, we could talk about all those things, but for days. But at the end of the day, we're all here to maximize profits from investing in this full market. And therefore, the most important thing with the shift list to understand its parameters, or it's like got a restraint on it, if you will, like for a time constraint, and that is just this bull market in particular. So what is our opinion on any cryptocurrency between now and the end of the full market, which we believe is in between 6 and 9 months, I would say, is very likely left in this full market. Therefore, what's our outlook on all of these cryptocurrencies? And we could talk about long-term stuff later, but end of the day, it doesn't really matter for all intents and purposes. So the risk and reward here, we apply, obviously Bitcoin is sort of the yardstick or the benchmark, to these cryptocurrencies. Like, we need to compare them to something. So, Bitcoin is that. As Ben said earlier, you really shouldn't, if our outlook on altcoins is all pretty much the same as Bitcoin in terms of percentage gains, in my strong opinion, but you should be investing in altcoins because you're taking on so much more risk. But thankfully, like, I suppose for me, why I still hold so many altcoins is because I still do expect them to outperform Bitcoin for a year, and that's why I do still have like a big part of like percentage my portfolio in them, even though we take on more risk. So we've got the risk and reward here. They're the two inputs, and then you get your output there, which is the hour rating. We do have a drop down menu that sort of explains what goes into it all. Again, as platinum members, I know a lot of you, don't have much time. You can't get into all this if you want to, and you can ask questions about this process and look into the individual assets. Each individual asset has its own sort of, I suppose, a set analysis. Again, you can read that in your own time. We do update those periodically, but I would stress and emphasize, I suppose, one of the biggest benefits being a platinum member is, yes, you can reference this, but in real time, in the WhatsApp group in particular, you could just bypass it, the better turbo. You could sort of just get around the ship list and just get out real-time insights. But importantly, if you're holding something or interested in something that isn't in the ship list, we very likely in the team already know about the project, and you can already just ask us in the WhatsApp about our thoughts on any project. And as you may have seen already in the WhatsApp, like we will give a response in the same day with our opinion on any project. So that's one of the biggest benefits of being a platinum member. And as you scroll down there, another thing with this ship list is it's dynamic in nature. So Uniswap is actually a great example in real time. If you scroll down that, Uniswap is just gone on this like rocket today. It's gone up like 40% because of this mono-weighted sort of governance proposal. Uniswap's gone up 40%, and automatically, I suppose, the ship list has worked as designed in that the upside now has now gone down to very low because the price has gone up so high. Based on our previous analysis, like we just don't think there's much juice left to squeeze for Uniswap. Therefore, it's high risk and it's very low reward. So ultimately, we are of the opinion that, hey, just hold Bitcoin. But again, we do fundamental updates now with this new information that we might upgrade Uniswap in this example, but just know that price is like dynamic and these ratings are dynamic, which I think makes sense because if something goes up in price really quickly, it can't just kick to that. There will be a top that it hits out.
I think the other thing just for you guys is you don't need to jump in here if you don't want to. Some of you are very busy. Some of you love this stuff. If you love it and you want to read all about it, you can go into each token. You can kind of look at all the analysis. You can look at all the previous research pieces if you want. That's completely up to you. This is choose your own adventure with us. For those of you that are busy, all right, the most important things are going to be sent through the announcements channel in the WhatsApp. So like yesterday when, if you guys saw, like I made those 2 investments I shared in the announcements, that's kind of like, Peter, you're a busy man. It's like, bang, that's the announcement. That's all you need to look at. If you want to dive in and go, cool, what's Ben talking about, we'll then upload a deeper research piece on the platform. If you want to read about it, you can. That was the post here. And then also as a platinum member, I would say one of the best benefits is literally you guys have access to a full team of experts and analysts in the WhatsApp group. So like, sending in a message, asking questions, like we're here to support and help. That's like the difference of consuming content online and just going, is this even relevant to me, to being able to literally just ask us and go, hey guys, like, what do you think about this? Super, super valuable. That's in the WhatsApp. You can also then join on a weekly call. So there's 2 types of like live calls that we host. The weekly call is like what we call like our, briefing office hours live event. So every week it's like a 1-hour session you can jump on with the analysts and it's like what's happening right now in the market with Q&A. I would say again, like that's kind of more if like you're just wanting to know what's happening right now, you kind of like, you've got a bit of time, you can check it out. The monthly forum, I would say this is like, if you've only got an hour a month, this is what you want to watch. This is kind of more like, hey, here's everything that's going on. Here's the strategy. Here's what's happening. Here's the recap that's from the month. Here's what's happening in the future. That's the one I'd recommend at a minimum to either jump on live if you can or watch back the recording. Okay, cool. I want to keep moving forward.
How often is the ship list updated?
Yeah, so other than that real time updated with crises, we do go through and analyze when they update our review of each asset at least every month. Like we do have reports that go out that explain if we fundamentally are upgrading or downgrading a project and explaining that, or if we're adding an asset, which we are planning to soon, or if we're removing an asset, if it's just gone into like irrelevance. We're monitoring them like every day as a team in terms of fundamental news, but in terms of an update of the actual asset page itself, that would be at this stage every 2 or 3 months in terms of updating the asset page. But we do these monthly reports of any news that you need to know about the asset.
Yeah, and I'd say like the shift list for us as well is more about representing the tokens that we want our clients to know about. There's a lot of tokens that we're looking at regularly. So Matt posts in the WhatsApp group and it's called the Director's Watch List. So essentially like we're always scanning and looking for new altcoins, and like, that's kind of like our number one thing we do. But 99% of the altcoins that we look at, we don't share because it'd just be completely overwhelming and not relevant. So every week, Matt does like I'm not sure what day it'll be this week, Matt, where you put that out. But essentially, it's like what Matt and the team have been looking at on an altcoins level that are upcoming. So you guys can kind of stay across of it if you're interested. And then the ones that we do invest in or we want you to know more about, we'll do an actual add something here to the shift list, if that makes sense. And then we'll again announce in the WhatsApp. From a tax structure strategy, so a couple of things on this. Like I can speak from experience. One thing that I would recommend if you haven't done already is make sure you've got the right optimized tax structure for yourselves. If you need support on this as a platinum client, a couple of things. One is you get a free 30-minute consultation. You guys are all in Australia. We have a partnership with Crypto Tax Australia. Adrian and the team there are epic. He's been my personal crypto tax accountant for a long time. You get a 30-minute free call with these guys to kind of talk through your situation. If you need support, they'll kind of talk through how they can help. That's something Beck and San can help do an email introduction for you guys if you want that. The other thing I would also recommend is we did a bonus session on this recently. All the recordings are here. So you've got the weekly calls, monthly forums, and then bonus sessions. We actually did a bonus tax session with Adrian literally a couple of weeks ago. So you can watch back that session. It was a full crypto tax bonus session for platinum members. You can watch that back if you want to get a bit more sort of up to date on the tax side of things. These as well, like if you're busy, you're on the road, you're working, whatever, you can also download these and just kind of listen to them in the car or like a podcast if that's helpful. So that's the tax side. Personally, right now, like I've been shifting my structures a little bit. Like one, I'm accumulating primarily Bitcoin on my company's balance sheet. For those of you, any of you guys own companies? There's maybe a couple of you. Any company owners? Yeah, 2, 3. So for you guys, one thing that I would look into is looking into, if you're not already, accumulating Bitcoin as an example on your company balance sheet. It's a great way you can use pre-tax dollars. So essentially just utilizing like the cash flow of your business that you've got sitting in cash to just essentially you can accumulate Bitcoin as an asset on your balance sheet. So you're not taking that money out personally and paying personal income tax, or you're not taking, franked dividends to invest. You can actually just invest that full 100% of the cash in your business and then pay the tax down the line. Just allows you to essentially buy more and not have to pay the tax until, obviously tax time. It's different for different people. Make sure you just check with your tax accountant. But, for us, it's kind of a great way to accumulate, BTC. Personally, I'm now investing under a trust structure. I do that under a trust because it allows me to take dividends from my company. If we do dividends to then, essentially have franked credits to invest, I can distribute profits. I still get the 50% capital gains discount. That's the only thing that's the downside of investing under your company structure, is that you don't get the 50% capital gains discount when you hold something for more than 12 months. So just something to be aware of if you're investing under a company. Personal name is what I've done from the start. Currently switching to a trust now, but the personal name as well gives you the 50% capital gains discount. So that's just as good. I think if you've got a business structure, like for me, it's a great way to invest with the capital on your balance sheet, because, you guys are probably at the top tax bracket and you get absolutely fucking annihilated before actually being able to invest any money. So it's a good way to kind of get around that. Buy strategy, I would just recommend, honestly, a super simple, I was just saying in the WhatsApp this morning, one of the chats, just a simple DCA strategy for me works best. If you've got capital you want to allocate, I would split that up into, 3 tranches. I usually do it, split it up into 3s. Why 3s? It's just easy. I usually do it over a 3-week period, 6-week period, get the average buy price. The hardest thing in crypto, again, as I mentioned at the start, is I always say there's never a gentleman's entry in crypto. There's never a good time to buy. There's never a bad time to buy. You'll put in money today, the market will go up tomorrow and you'll go, fuck, I should have bought more. Or you'll put money in today and the market will go down tomorrow and you'll go, fuck, I bought too much. Same on the way out. You'll take profits and then it'll go higher the next day and you said, shit, I should have waited. Or you go to take profits and it goes down before you take profits and you go, shit, I should have taken profits earlier. You can never win. Have full faith that you can't ever win in crypto. It is a sickening game we play. The faster that you can kind of understand that, you probably have realized that, the easier it becomes. Just know that it's very difficult to feel like you've properly won because of how volatile this market is. Where to buy in Australia? I personally use SwiftX. SwiftX is a great platform if you're looking to use larger amounts of capital. So if you're wanting to invest more than $25,000 at a time, I would highly recommend OTC, which is over the counter. Essentially, you get better spreads and better fees. If you need an introduction or if you want an introduction, Beck and San can do that for you guys. You can just reach out to them and they'll do an email introduction for you. Alternatively, Kraken is really good on a centralized level. If you're going to use Coinbase, I'd use Coinbase Pro. If you're using CoinSpot, be aware you're probably getting absolutely reamed on the fees and the spreads. I would recommend SwiftX, Binance, Kraken on the centralized side. Coinbase Pro. On the decentralized side, DEXs, if you're familiar, Uniswap is my personal, choice. If you need support or help with any of that sort of more educational level materials, we've got hundreds of resources here in the platform you can check out. In here as an example, if you're wanting the best spreads and the best fees on syrup, I would buy that through Uniswap. There, you can check that out. There's a full sort of beginner resource there. Again, if you need someone to walk you through it and you need help, San, our other client success manager, is like a brilliant, educator in that space. We can definitely help you. You can just reach out to the team and happy to help you on that front. Any questions on any of that? I know that's kind of like sometimes, a big point. I was going to say and I probably didn't make this clear at the start. This session today is really about just kind of getting you guys to think about these things to get your mind ticking over. So when you have your one-on-one, I think Richard, you had yours with Matt yesterday. I don't think Ben, Peter, or... Okay, cool. Yep. Great. So it's kind of like what we found was this session really just helps you kind of like utilize your one-on-one in a little bit better fashion. Richard, you kind of done it the opposite way. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But this is more about just getting you guys in the mindset of how we think about things, which is just going to help you massively moving forward. But you're not going to have all the answers today. And I hope you don't feel as though you have all the answers today. It's going to take a little bit to kind of, work through, but that's what we're here to support. Now the sell strategy is kind of where, a lot of people get caught up on. And I think the easiest way to kind of help you on the sell strategy is by, first of all, understanding that you're a part of our group now, which is going to be a very big asset to you all. One of the things that I would always say, like when you think about sell strategy, a lot of people think about wanting to sell here, right, the top of the market. That is actually near impossible to actually do. This is what usually happens. You want to sell here and you miss the top, and that downward slope is very painful, as we all know. So what we like to do is we like to take chips out and take profits out on the way up. And that is from simply a taking profit strategy on, taking profits on the way up. For Bitcoin right now, our price targets are around 150 to 180,000 US dollars. For altcoins, we believe most of the good altcoins should 2 to 3x from here, maybe higher. The most important part about the sell strategy for altcoins in particular is it's actually extremely difficult to do. And what we have internally as the sort of analyst team is like a range of indicators and data tracking that we do to kind of give us a good indication of when the bull market might be coming to a close. And that's where we indicate that with all of you guys inside the group. Sentiment selling is kind of like the hardest way to quantify sell targets, but it's the one that we use the most. Sentiment selling in altcoins specifically is essentially just like trying to track human psychology at the end of the day to understand when peak euphoria is, and that's when we take profits. We will share all of that data and insights for you guys in the WhatsApp group. This is like the number one thing that everyone wants. Obviously, we're fully allocating crypto too, and it's the number one thing we want to, so we'll be there by your side. So in your one-on-one sessions you have with Matt or Simon, whoever you get to catch up with, like that's going to be super beneficial to kind of run through things. I would just say that the sell strategy is like, people like to be like real like, okay, here's my sell price. This is where I'm going to sell. I've got a spreadsheet. I've got all this. It's like, it's helpful, but the sell strategy is fluid. Back to the thing I said at the start, like markets don't care about any of us. I kind of have a very fluid sell strategy. What do you say, Matt? Loosely held? Yes. Yeah. That's the best way to think about altcoin selling. The most important thing is we'll share that with you guys in the WhatsApp when we think markets are getting, toppy, when there might be an altcoin that's outperformed, we want to take profits. When we actually take profits, all of that's going to be shared very, very heavily in the market. We believe just roughly, the peak of the cycle, in my opinion, is going to be, we believe like mid to late next year is probably like the consensus of the research team. That may change. It probably will change, but that's kind of like consensus at this point. But as always, we'll update you guys in the group. So, you're never left wondering. And if you have any questions at all, please message us in the chat. So that's kind of the 7 steps. I would just recommend, again, you don't have to go and like print this out and spend a heap of time on it. I would think about it, if you have an hour spare just to kind of, do it over. It's going to help you a lot when it comes to your sell strategy and just broader portfolio strategy. In terms of the live sessions, I would recommend, as you're kind of new to the group, like if you get a chance to join one of the weekly office hours, like that's a really good way to kind of just get up to date on where the market's at. Today's been very strategy focused. Oh shit, I'm not sharing my screen. Right, sorry, this one here. Under the Platinum Hub, the weekly office hours, this is like where you get an up to date on the market. As you're quite new, I would recommend if you get a chance to jump on that live or just watch that back the recording, just to kind of get an understanding of where we're at now, to kind of, get some context as to the market cycle. So we run these bonus sessions essentially for our platinum members. The next one is on like earning an income on crypto, like how to earn an income with your crypto, like yield and, staking and the different styles of ways you can earn passive income. That term gets thrown around pretty loosely in crypto, and there's kind of a lot of misunderstanding as to the risk you have to take to do certain things. So we're going to the boys are going to lay out like a if you're brand new, lowest risk to highest risk, step-by-step ways to do this. A bonus session. All of this is recorded, by the way. I know you guys are super busy, so if you miss any of these, we have them all uploaded in the recording session here. The last thing I'd probably mention, if you don't know already, twice a year we have in-person strategy days for our platinum members. These are awesome, super valuable. If you can't make them, we get them professionally recorded so you can see all the content. But we've got the Sydney event coming up. That's next week in Sydney. The team obviously organised all that. It's going to be a brilliant day. How many have we got coming back?
155.
155. Are you guys coming by any chance? I'm not sure if you had a chance to think about it. I know it's late. Yep. Peter, no. Ben, maybe. Okay, that's cool. So you guys will have a full production team. They're going to record all the content, so you won't miss out on any of the presentations from the day. But for those of you that are coming, they're great to meet the other clients, meet the other members, meet the team, do some in-person workshops, and then we've got the platinum party that night, which should be pretty fun. So we do that twice a year, end of year, and the next one will be in the middle of next year. So June, July-ish will be the next one, most likely in Melbourne for those of you that can't come, but you guys get tickets to both regardless. And then the WhatsApp group, so please keep using the WhatsApp group. I think the biggest thing just to remind you guys is we're not a course, a normal course, a Discord group. This is a ongoing service that we are all incentivized to make sure you guys are winning, and that is by giving you guys access to us at any point throughout the year. Anytime you're just overwhelmed, confused, not sure where to spend your time, I'd recommend going to Beck or San. You can just message in the group chat, you can message on the platform. If you've got crypto questions, message them in the general chat on WhatsApp. Join the live sessions. We're literally here to help. We love supporting you guys, and we want you to win, because if you win, we all win. That's the only way this kind of business works. So please make sure you utilize that. I've gone through a lot. You may have questions, is a little bit more deeper as to your personal situation. Happy to help as much as I can. I would say the best way, next step is getting ready for your one-on-one. Richard, if you've got now questions, I would get ready for just being able to jump on one of those weekly live office hours where you can kind of join the team, and then just literally just being able to throw in any questions in the WhatsApp whenever you guys have any questions you need. We also do these group strategy sessions quite regularly. So if you need to jump on another one, just reach out to Beck or San. You guys can jump back on another one of these if you need to help. Any sort of major questions or just not sure of kind of next steps? I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully helpful. Was that all right? Yep, cool. We might wrap it up there. Beck, anything we need to pass on? Thanks, guys. Great to meet you all. I'll see you very soon.